about ball striking, and let's do it pretty quickly so that you guys can get straight back out on the golf course and enjoy the game and start beating your buddies. Now, there's always two things that golfers are struggling with when it comes to inconsistency in contact. One is the club face, and the second one is kind of the low point, which probably sounds pretty obvious. What I mean by low point, first and foremost, is that when we are hitting shots from off the floor, what we need to try and make sure that we are doing is hitting ahead of the ball. Okay, so you never want the club to sort of hit the ground before the ball, because what this will do is the club will then just lift and it will give you inconsistency in contact. What we need to do is we need to make sure the club is striking sort of, you know, an inch or two at least to the lead side of the golf ball. Now, the way in which you're going to really do this is a lot to do actually with your upper body motion, and the thing that I would try and get you to focus on is your sort of sternum, or if you like, the center line of your chest. So in the setup position, what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you've got a nice wide base. Okay, this is something that I'm a big fan of. Having a wider base might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but actually it makes it easier to move from right to left, and it kind of improves your interaction with the ground. The second thing I want you to do is just make sure in your setup position that your sternum is over the golf ball to start off with. And what I mean by this is golfers who really struggle with ball striking tend to have a very narrow stance, excessive tilt, so the sternum is way behind the ball. So that's the first thing that I want you to try and work on. Now, when you are then making some practice swings, what I want you to do, particularly if you're going to do a few swings before you go out to play, is you have to put some more emphasis on trying to get the club head to strike the ground more opposite your lead ankle. Now, what this will do, you see, is this will encourage a couple of things. One, it'll encourage you to not move that much off the ball in the backswing position. And what it will also encourage you to do is rotate, because now what you can see is as I rotate my chest, it's doing two things. One, my sternum is now advancing to the left of the ball, which is a good thing, and two, it's giving me the ability to drop my right shoulder down. So you see, as I'm moving this way, that's going to give me the chance of getting the club to strike the ground ahead of the ball, therefore fixing your inconsistency with contact. So you would do that for a little bit, and that will massively improve the chances of you striking in the correct area. Now, one of the problems that you may have is also, like I said, with regards to the club face. So golfers that struggle with contact will have a tendency where they are twisting the club face to open in the backswing position. Now, doing this will basically mean, one, your arms are going to end up in a very funny sort of position, quite bent more than likely, which will then lend itself to a casting action. But also, when you hit the ball with an open face, you really lack the ability to compress the ball. And then what it means is it kind of means that you're doing a very sort of glorified, very long lob shot. So you end up putting a lot of energy into it and not really getting too much output from it. So the way you're going to fix this is to start build up a little bit more awareness and try and imagine that your trail hand, so my right hand and my right palm in particular, is an extension of the club face. So as I take the club back, I want to feel like I keep the club face pointing down to the ground. As I go into my backswing, I want to feel like my club face is pointing away from me, okay, not upwards towards the sky, away from me. And then as I come in towards this sort of hit, you really want to then just get the feeling of through. Okay, see where I am here. So if I can kind of minimize how much movement I'm doing on my trail arm and accompany that with a decent body rotation in the downswing, you really do then start to have a recipe of a very good impact position. And that's why, you know, you would end up going from somebody who kind of moves behind the ball and hit it with a scooping action where you can see a lot of the club face visually, to somebody who takes more loft off the club, keeps the right hand, should we say, more on top in the backswing, turns the chest through. Can you see the difference visually? So one, you can see now my hands are way more forward, my head stays nicely on the back of the golf ball and I look like so. And again, that is a byproduct of the movements that I spoke about, as opposed to moving off the golf ball and hitting it very much this way. So try and break it down that way. First things first, you need good pivot. Getting a good rotation is going to be massive for you in your golf swing. Accompany that with a good club face. I promise you, you're going to have a really good chance of compressing the golf ball and breaking lots of those bad habits. Get out there and play. I'll see you soon.